Jax's revenge domain.
Tell everyone it's been a pleasure working with them. The elevator doors closed on his stunned face. I'm Warren Hutchins, 49 years old, and I'd just been fired from the job I'd held for 22 years, not for poor performance, not for missing deadlines, but because I wasn't wearing safety goggles in the administrative wing of our defense plant. And today was supposed to be the day we signed the biggest contract in company history. My phone started buzzing before the elevator hit the ground floor. Admiral Curtis Blackstone's name flashed on the screen. I steadied myself and answered, "Warren, where are you?" We're all set up in the conference room, ready to make this happen. There's been a change of plans. I'm no longer with Apex Industries. Dead silence. Then what are you talking about? I've been terminated. Effective immediately. Terminated today? That's insane. The elevator opened to the main lobby. I could see Admiral Blackstone standing with his procurement team, phone pressed to his ear, confusion written across his face. Behind him, Bryce Ashworth had also arrived, probably coming down to witness what he thought would be his moment of glory. No insanity, Admiral. Just reality. I suggest you speak with Apex's current management about how they want to proceed. I walked out of that elevator, cardboard box in hand, 22 years of my career reduced to personal items and a coffee mug my wife had given me. Admiral Blackstone spotted me immediately. He ended his call and walked over, his expression shifting from confusion to something that looked like genuine concern. "Warren," he extended his hand. "What the hell is going on?" Behind him, Bryce was watching us with that smug look I'd seen too many times lately. The kid who'd never spent a day on a production floor, never stayed late to troubleshoot a critical delivery, never had to explain to the Pentagon why specifications weren't met. "Your business partner just fired me," I said loud enough for everyone to hear. "Contract's off." Bryce's expression changed fast when Admiral Blackstone turned toward him. The Admiral's team was staring at Bryce like he'd just announced we were surrendering to the enemy. "You did what?" Admiral Blackstone's voice had that edge I remembered from my Navy days when someone had seriously screwed up. "I was enforcing company safety protocols," Bryce stammered, clutching his tablet like it might protect him. "Warren was in violation of mandatory PPE requirements in a designated safety zone. You fired the lead operations director of an $18 million defense contract because he wasn't wearing safety glasses in an office." That's when Roger Ashworth appeared, practically running from the executive elevator with half the board trailing behind him. Roger had built this company from nothing, starting with a single government contract back when I was still learning the ropes in the Navy. Now he was watching his son destroy it in real time, Admiral Blackstone. "I'm sure we can work this out. Warren is valuable to us, and this is clearly a misunderstanding." But Admiral Blackstone had already turned back to his team. I caught pieces of their conversation. Operational continuity, key personnel requirements, and if this is how they manage internal affairs. I stood there watching 22 years of my work dissolve. Every late-night troubleshooting production issues, every weekend spent redesigning processes to meet tighter Pentagon specifications, every relationship I'd built with suppliers and contractors, all of it evaporating because of a safety violation that wouldn't have mattered to a first-year inspector. Roger approached me, lowering his voice so the others couldn't hear. "Warren, please, let's go upstairs and discuss this. Bryce is new to operations. He was trying to demonstrate leadership. We can fix this." "There's nothing to fix," I replied, making sure my voice carried across the lobby. "Your son made a decision. You backed him by staying silent. I accept it." Admiral Blackstone turned back to us, his face set in that expression I remembered from briefings when missions had gone sideways. "Our contract specifically names Warren Hutchins as the operations director for this program. He wrote the specifications. He designed the quality protocols. Without him, we're not comfortable proceeding." "You can't just walk away," Roger protested. "The contracts are ready. The press release is drafted. We've got 200 people depending on this deal. Actually, we can," Admiral Blackstone said, pulling out a thick folder. "Section 12, subsection C of our agreement includes a key personnel clause. If Warren leaves Apex for any reason before contract completion, we have the right to withdraw without penalty." I had insisted on that clause myself, based on my Navy experience with critical personnel requirements. Too many operations had failed because key people were reassigned or lost at crucial moments. Now it was the thing that would sink the company I'd spent 2 decades building. "Warren wrote that clause," one of our lawyers whispered to Roger, loud enough that I could hear. "He's the only one who understood its implications during contract review." Admiral Blackstone extended his hand to me. "Warren, when you figure out what's next, give me a call. The Pentagon needs people who understand what operational excellence actually means." The handshake felt final. Professional, a door closing and another one opening, though I couldn't see what was on the other side yet. With that, he and his team walked out, leaving silence behind them. The kind of silence that follows explosions when everyone's still trying to figure out what just happened and how much damage was done. I nodded once to my former colleagues, then headed for the parking garage, ignoring Roger's desperate calls for me to come back. Outside, the spring air hit my face differently than usual, cleaner somehow, despite everything that had just happened. I had no job, no immediate prospects, and had just watched my greatest professional achievement crumble, but I walked to my truck without looking back. My phone wouldn't stop ringing as I drove through the defense corridor toward home. The caller ID showed names I recognized: colleagues, reporters, headhunters. I turned it off without checking the voicemails. Whatever crisis was unfolding back at Apex, someone else would have to handle it. That evening, I sat on my back porch with a beer, watching the sun set over our small Virginia town. The houses here were modest but well-maintained, home to families who understood the value of steady work and steady paychecks. When was the last time I'd been home before dark? When had I last just sat and watched the sky change colors? My wife Sarah was working her evening shift at the hospital. She'd be home around midnight, and I'd have to explain why I was sitting in our kitchen instead of celebrating the biggest deal in company history. But for now, I had time to think. The news alerts started popping up on my tablet around 9 p.m. Apex Industries suffers major contract loss. Defense contractor stock plunges on failed Pentagon deal. The numbers were brutal, down 31% in after-hours trading, and that was just the beginning. By morning, it would fall another 15%. My neighbor Eddie came out to check his mailbox and noticed me sitting there. Eddie runs construction crews and has never been shy about sharing his opinions. He walked over and leaned against our fence. "You're home early," he said. "Got fired today. No kidding. What happened?" I told him the whole story: the safety glasses, Bryce's power play, Admiral Blackstone walking out. Eddie listened without interrupting, which isn't his usual style. "You look better than I've seen you in years," he said when I finished. "Getting fired might be the best thing that ever happened to you. Maybe. But I still can't believe how it ended. 22 years, Eddie. 22 years of building something, and one kid with an MBA destroys it because I wasn't wearing safety glasses in a conference room. And what did they build for you?" he asked. "You gave them everything. Your expertise, your time, your loyalty. The first time this Bryce kid wanted to flex his muscles, they let him throw you under the bus." Eddie had a point. I'd spent more time at that plant than I had in my own house. Missed family dinners, skipped vacations, worked weekends to meet impossible deadlines. And for what? To get fired over a technicality by someone who'd never operated a piece of manufacturing equipment in his life. The next few days blurred together. I slept late, fixed things around the house that I'd been putting off for months. Called my brother Danny, who works as a foreman at a shipyard in Norfolk. "You need work. I can get you on here tomorrow." Danny offered. "Union job, good benefits. Start over fresh. I appreciate it," I said, "but I'm not ready to start over. Not yet." What I was ready for was something I couldn't quite name. The anger was there, sure, but it was cold anger, professional anger. The kind that makes you want to prove something rather than break something. My phone started working again the following Tuesday morning when Roger Ashworth's name appeared on the screen. I almost declined the call, but curiosity won Warren. He sounded like he'd aged 10 years in a week. "We need to talk. I'm listening. The board wants to meet with you. The situation here is—" He paused, searching for words that wouldn't sound desperate. "It's worse than we anticipated. We need your help." "To do what exactly?" "To fix this. To bring Admiral Blackstone back to save the company." Yes, I looked out my kitchen window at the bird feeder Sarah had hung last summer. Cardinals were fighting over seeds with blue jays, each species following its own rules, neither backing down. The same company that fired me for not wearing safety goggles. Roger's sigh carried the weight of a man watching his life's work crumble. "That was a terrible mistake. Bryce has been moved to a different role. I've had to restructure operations entirely." "What's your offer?" "Come to the board meeting tomorrow. Name your terms." I'd spent a week thinking about what I actually wanted: revenge, vindication, justice. The answer had crystallized into something simpler: respect. "I'll think about it," I said, and hung up. That night, Sarah and I sat at our kitchen table with coffee and the newspaper spread between us. She'd been waiting for me to figure out what came next, patient as always. "What do you really want?" she asked. "I want to never again be in a position where someone else's poor judgment can destroy decades of my work. So don't go back. But there are 200 good people there who didn't do anything wrong. They're going to lose their jobs because of this mess, and whose fault is that?" She was right, of course, but walking away felt like abandoning people who'd counted on me. Tommy Reeves, who I'd trained from apprentice to production manager. Maria Santos, who'd pioneered our quality control systems. Guys like Pete Morrison and Carl Hutchins, who'd followed my lead for years and trusted me to keep their jobs secure. The next morning, I called Roger back. "I'll meet with the board today, not tomorrow, and I'll come with conditions." "What kind of conditions?" "The non-negotiable kind." 4 hours later, I walked into that boardroom wearing my old Navy dress blues. The symbolism wasn't subtle, but subtlety hadn't served me well before. I wanted them to remember that I'd served my country with honor before I'd served their company with distinction. The board members stood when I entered. Their expressions ranged from desperate hope to visible embarrassment. Roger looked like he'd aged 5 years in 2 weeks. Dark circles under his eyes, suit wrinkled, the confident posture of a successful entrepreneur replaced by something that looked like defeat. "Thank you for coming, Warren," the chairman said. "We appreciate your willingness to discuss the situation." "Let's skip the pleasantries," I replied. Taking a seat at the far end of the table, in the 2 weeks since I left, your stock has fallen 58%. 3 major clients have put their contracts under review. The trade press is running daily speculation about bankruptcy proceedings. Grim nods around the table. I'd done my homework. The numbers were worse than they'd probably admitted to themselves. You've lost the Vanguard contract, which was your only path to sustained growth. Even if I could convince Admiral Blackstone to reconsider, and that's a big if, the terms would be significantly worse. "We understand," Roger said, "but we have to try." "Why should I help you?" I asked, looking around the table. "You all sat silent while your future CEO fired me for a safety violation that wouldn't have mattered to a first-year inspector." Uncomfortable shifting and expensive chairs. These were smart people who'd built successful careers, but they'd let family politics override business judgment. Now they were paying the price. "We made a serious error in judgment," the chairman admitted. "What would it take for you to return?" I opened my briefcase and withdrew a folder my attorney had prepared. "These terms are non-negotiable." The chairman's eyebrows rose as he read. He passed it to Roger, whose face went pale. The document made its way around the table, each board member's expression growing more concerned. "This is extensive," Roger said. "Yes. Full reinstatement as senior operations director with a 40% salary increase, equity stake in the company, complete operational autonomy, and a public acknowledgement of the error in my termination. And this clause about intellectual property, any operational improvements or innovations I develop remain 60% my personal property. Apex can claim 40%, but I retain controlling interest." "That's highly unusual," one board member objected. "So is firing your most experienced operations director over safety glasses on the day of your biggest contract signing," I replied. They exchanged glances, having a silent conversation that would determine the company's future. I sat back and waited. I'd learned patience in the Navy, where rushing decisions usually meant people got hurt. Finally, the chairman spoke. "If we agree to these terms, you'll try to salvage the Vanguard contract." "I'll try. I can't promise success." Admiral Blackstone doesn't forget, and he doesn't forgive easily. More exchanges of glances. Then the chairman signed the contract. One by one, the other board members followed. Roger was last, his pen hovering before he added his signature. "When can you start?" the chairman asked. "I already have," I said, standing up. "I'll be making calls from my office. I suggest you prepare for a very difficult few months." As I turned to leave, Roger called after me. "What about Bryce?" I paused at the door. "What about him? He's still with the company. Will that be a problem?" I smiled. "Not for me." The call to Admiral Blackstone was long and difficult. As I'd expected, he was reluctant to re-engage. "Your company showed its true priorities," he said. "Why should the Pentagon trust them again?" "You wouldn't be trusting them. You'd be trusting me, and I now have the authority to guarantee what I promise." "The original deal is off the table, Warren. Too much has happened. I understand, but we could structure something smaller. A pilot program. Let us prove we can deliver." After an hour and a half, he agreed to consider a revised proposal. The terms were much less favorable for Apex, $8 million instead of $18 million, with strict performance milestones and penalty clauses. But it was something. Over the next month, I worked to stabilize what could be saved. Some departments had to be eliminated. People lost their jobs, none of whom had been in that boardroom when I was fired. The cuts were surgical but necessary. We kept the skilled technicians and eliminated the administrative bloat. I saw Bryce occasionally in the hallways. He always looked away. I never approached him or mentioned his name in meetings. His presence meant nothing to me now. He'd been moved to business development, where his MBA might actually be useful, but an idea had been forming since my first day back. That unusual clause in my contract hadn't been random. I had a plan, one that would take time and patience. It started with a conversation with Tommy Reeves, our best production manager. Tommy had been with the company for 15 years, working his way up from apprentice to supervisor. He understood quality control better than anyone except me. I need a side project, I told him over lunch at the plant cafeteria. Something experimental. Can your team help? Tommy, grateful I'd personally requested his involvement, agreed immediately. What kind of project? I've been thinking about safety equipment. Specifically, next-generation protective gear with integrated monitoring systems. His eyes lit up. Tommy had been in the plant the day I got fired. He knew exactly what this was about, within days. Tommy had assembled a team of our best technicians. We worked evenings and weekends, developing prototypes for smart safety equipment that could monitor environmental conditions, track worker vitals, and provide real-time hazard alerts. The military applications were obvious, but the civilian market was huge too. Every manufacturing plant, construction site, and industrial facility in America had workers who needed better protection. We started with the basics. Safety glasses with built-in sensors that could detect harmful gases, excessive noise levels, or dangerous radiation. The glasses would alert the wearer and automatically notify supervisors if hazardous conditions were detected. This could have prevented the incident that got you fired, Tommy said. Adjusting the prototype's calibration. That's the point, I replied, but it's bigger than that. This could prevent thousands of workplace injuries. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. We were using Apex's resources to develop technology that would make arbitrary safety enforcement obsolete. 6 months after my return, our pilot program was ready. We called it Tactical Systems Group, operating under my contract's intellectual property clause. The name wasn't subtle, but then subtlety hadn't gotten me very far. The day before our first client presentation, I called another company meeting. Everyone attended, including Bryce, who sat in the middle rows looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. For the past 6 months, a small team has been working on something revolutionary, I began. Today, I'm announcing Tactical Systems Group, advanced safety and monitoring equipment for high-risk operations. I clicked to display our first product. Smart protective gear with integrated sensors that could monitor air quality, detect approaching hazards, and alert supervisors to dangerous conditions in real time. This isn't just safety equipment, it's a complete monitoring ecosystem that prevents accidents before they happen. I walked to center stage, adjusting the prototype glasses I was wearing. Take these safety glasses, they don't just protect your eyes. They monitor air quality, detect approaching hazards, and can alert supervisors to dangerous conditions in real time. The demonstration showed how our gear could have prevented every safety incident at Apex over the past 5 years, including the arbitrary enforcement that had cost us the original Vanguard contract. You might wonder why an operations director is launching a safety technology company. The answer is simple. Sometimes the best innovations come from understanding real problems. I advanced to financial projections that made several executives sit up straighter. Admiral Blackstone has agreed to pilot our system across Vanguard's entire East Coast operation. Based on preliminary results, we're projecting 8-figure revenue within 18 months. I paused, meeting Bryce's eyes across the room. He was staring at the display with something that looked like recognition dawning on his face. Every Tactical Systems product includes documentation of its development history, the story of how a single safety enforcement action led to innovations that could save lives across multiple industries. The room went completely silent. No one looked at Bryce, but everyone understood the message. This project operates independently under my employment contract, with Apex holding minority interest. All development has been properly documented and compensated. Roger stood up. Warren, this is significant. The board should have been consulted about timing and resource allocation. The board approved my contract, which grants me operational autonomy over intellectual property development, I replied. But I welcome your support for our success. After the meeting, people clustered around me with questions and congratulations. Bryce remained seated, staring at the blank screen. As people filed out, I noticed he was still there. I walked past him without acknowledgement. The message had been delivered. Within a month, Tactical Systems had orders from 6 major defense contractors. Our smart safety gear was being tested by manufacturing plants across the industrial corridor. The pilot program with Vanguard had exceeded all performance metrics. Admiral Blackstone became our biggest advocate, telling industry publications that our innovations had revolutionized how the Pentagon approached operational safety. The irony was perfect. The safety violation that had cost Apex an $18 million contract was now generating even more revenue through better technology. Roger called me to his office as quarterly results came in. This is bigger than we anticipated, he said, looking at sales projections that showed Tactical Systems outperforming Apex's core business. Yes, it is. The board has concerns about focus. They worry Tactical Systems is distracting from our core mission. Our core mission is stable. The revised Vanguard contract is proceeding ahead of schedule. My operational metrics remain exemplary. He leaned forward. What's the endgame, Warren? Are you planning to leave Apex entirely? I considered the question carefully. What I'm planning is to never again be in a position where someone else's poor judgment can destroy decades of my work. Tactical Systems ensures that. 18 months later, Tactical Systems had grown beyond anything I'd imagined. We'd expanded into predictive maintenance systems, industrial automation, and advanced materials. Our smart safety equipment was standard in defense facilities across 3 states. Admiral Blackstone had convinced the Pentagon to mandate our technology for all major contractors. The same safety standards that had been used to fire me were now driving innovation that protected thousands of workers. On the 2-year anniversary of my firing and return, I made my final announcement to the company. Today, Tactical Systems becomes a fully independent company. Apex will retain its 40% ownership stake, providing substantial ongoing revenue without operational responsibility. The financial benefits were obvious to everyone in the room. Apex had gone from near bankruptcy to owning a significant share of the most innovative safety technology company in the defense sector. Additionally, I'm establishing the Operational Excellence Foundation, funded by Tactical Systems profits. This foundation will provide training and development opportunities for technical professionals facing workplace challenges. I paused, finding Bryce in the audience. He no longer tried to hide in the back, but he looked different. The arrogance that had defined him 2 years ago was gone. The Foundation's first program will offer apprenticeships for individuals who've demonstrated genuine commitment to learning operational realities rather than just managing them. After the meeting, Bryce approached me for the first time in 2 years. The apprenticeship program, he said quietly. Is it real? Everything I do is real, I replied. He nodded, swallowing visibly. Would I be eligible? I studied him. 24 months of watching the consequences of his actions had changed something fundamental. The entitled kid who'd fired me over safety glasses had been replaced by someone who understood the weight of decisions. The application process is rigorous. It requires comprehensive self-assessment, operational knowledge testing, and a detailed development plan. I understand applications close in 2 weeks. 6 months later, Tactical Systems had become the leading provider of smart safety systems for industrial operations. Bryce had been accepted into our apprenticeship program, working 12-hour shifts on production floors, learning what operational excellence actually meant. When people ask if Tactical Systems was built for revenge, the answer is more complex than yes or no. It was built because someone tried to reduce my professional worth to a safety compliance checklist, and I refused to accept that evaluation. The real victory wasn't in Bryce's transformation or Apex's financial recovery. It was in taking a moment designed to diminish me and turning it into something that elevated everyone around me. Sometimes the most powerful response to someone trying to make you smaller is to grow so large that they can't help but stand in your shadow. And that shadow can either limit or illuminate depending on how you choose to cast it. If you've made it this far, thanks for sticking with my story. I'd be interested to know what resonated with you. Was it the moment of getting fired, the decision to come back on my own terms, or maybe watching someone learn that real leadership comes from competence, not just authority? Your thoughts matter, because every professional deserves to work with dignity and respect. And if this story reminded you that setbacks can become comebacks when you refuse to stay down, then maybe you'll share it with someone who needs to hear that message today.